Which they could be suggesting that just, they want everyone to use their private label card.
Yeah.
So they recognize anyone who already has, I'm sure like Target debit, right? That always is going to pop up first if you have a Target debit card registered in your account.
Yeah, but is that an AI suggestion or is that based off of machine learning? Or is that a store suggestion to try to change your consumer behavior? And like, obviously, the thing about that is most machine learning algorithms, if not all, are black boxes, right? Like, you don't know how the algorithm came up with the suggestion. You can't reverse engineer it. It just figured it out. So if it's not working the way that you want it to work, right, it's constantly suggesting bad payment options. You have no way of changing it other than turning it off. The other one that I've seen brought up quite a bit is an authorization optimization, right? There's machine learning algorithms to best make sure that your authorization goes through. Have you guys seen those?
I haven't seen it quite as much, but I have seen it.
I've seen some like last attempt one. I know that there's a company out there that does kind of like the last attempt, but I've also seen some that are more based off of, we can make sure that your authorization approves 99% of the time by, making sure that we run through a machine learning algorithm to make sure all the data points that you submitted in your authorization for that particular issuer are all aligned in the correct way to make them more likely approve it.
Yeah, to approve, not only to approve it, but to make sure that it is a faster processing time too.
Yeah. You guys really haven't seen those? I feel like I see them all the time. There's literal services. I thought I've known that you guys have negotiated. I definitely see them. Now, those I think could have some validity, right? Like, I do think, especially where you have, like, listen, issuers make weird changes all the time. And how you submit something is down to like a zip code or, do you have a middle initial or something when it says like name on card? Are you Dan middle initial Carter? And if you didn't put that middle initial, my transaction has a higher chance of not approving, right? So I think that there might be some validity within that because it plays into the machine learning algorithms that exist for approving authorizations from issuers, which are definitely and most certainly a thing. Have I told you guys my theory?
No. What is your theory? I'm curious to know.
I need an issuer to confirm whether this is true. I'm convinced that when you're trying to buy something and you have available funds or whatever, and your transaction is just not approving, and you call your bank and you're like, hey, I'm trying to like do this transaction at Nordstrom's and like you keep declining the transaction. Can you like make it so it approves? I'm convinced they're not doing anything.
Yeah, we talked about this, remember? Because I was trying to purchase something on my phone and I tried multiple cards eventually. And I called Chase and they said that it was at the store. They said they couldn't see it.
Yeah, I'm convinced it's not real. I don't know.
I never called the store. I just gave up. So they lost, $80.
Yes, but I was thinking the same thing because, like, wouldn't it be? What couldn't the bank see it though? It's going through the.
Right? This is my point.
It's going through the stream. Like, so why aren't you able to see this? Like, it has to hit you before it hits the stuff part.
Yeah, like, I'm convinced that they just say, like, yeah, just give us a few minutes. And then they, like, put you on hold. They say, hey, what's up to their friend next door. And then they come back and they go, okay, try again.
Right. It's like, okay. And then it's like, oh, well, no. So it's basically like, well, you didn't need to spend that $80 anyway, Chelsea.
And you didn't. I did not. Actually, though, don't they do that if you have it set for, like, you can set, like, I'm traveling, I'm going to be in Texas, so don't decline Texas.
Yes. Like, I think there's some...
then they can go switch it on and off. But,
right. Even like you going internationally, you have to like let them know or so that you switch it on so you can use it. It's crazy.
But just those domestic purchases that just randomly aren't working. I mean, if you work on the issuing side and I am full of it and that there actually is a system that you use and can like pull up our accounts and see the authorizations knocking at the door and you are like manually approving it so that it goes through, let us know, because I'm convinced that nothing's actually happening.
No, but I have to tell you, as I was used to working at the issuing level also before, I can tell you that sometimes, for example, when you're doing a payment, your payment is just locked or blocked at the acceptation point. So unless you have a kind of mobile payment platform or a kind of terminal payment platform, you see what I mean, which is not really visible, but your issuing bank, thus your issuing bank will not be able to see any of the trace of the transaction, because your transaction, really sometimes something went wrong at the acceptation point, and this is something completely invisible to the issuing bank. But the thing is that most of the issuing banks, some of them at least, do not tell this. You see what I mean? And they do not admit that they do not see all the transactions.
I was about to say, sometimes I'm like, damn, they probably like, hey, put you on hold, this, that, and third, because sometimes your phone will tell you, and of course you can do a quick, yes, this was me. But sometimes it takes you through the, like, hey, Bob,
but that's a fraud algorithm.
Just turn it on.
Yeah, that's a fraud screen though. I'm talking about like your nebulous do not honor issuer response where you're like, it's just like not going through. Like it's not triggering fraud. It's not triggering anything. It's just the issuer is not approving it. That's where I'm like, what's going on behind the scenes there?
Yeah.
And
sometimes
of course,
they will not be able to transform and to say to unlock this transaction if it's going wrong. I mean, if it's declined, it's declined. They do not have access to the final answer. You see what I mean? So,
and that's what these, quote unquote AI services are supposed to be able to fix. And I'm like, well, can they fix something that doesn't, like, there is no answer for? Because again, like, we don't know. Again, issuers weigh in. So, I mean, I think our kind of stance is we definitely believe that the machine learning, quote unquote, AI products 100% work for fraud, right? This is tried and true, extensive decades of data in their models. That's really legit. We're pretty all on the same page there. Sounds like we're kind of quasi on the fence about this authorization uplift piece of how much of it is something that you could have probably fixed yourself or that honestly there is no answer for. And it sounds like we don't really believe in the payment method suggestion.
And also, even if it, of course, there are a lot of proof of concepts also that are being developed. We have good results coming from some providers that tell us that these machine learning fraud detection is very efficient because it enables to reduce, the false positive, for example. The thing is that anyway, from anybody using this kind of technologies, they have also to keep in mind that it's a technology, as you mentioned earlier, that it's a black box. So you will not be able to very rectify or to adjust some things into this black box, but you have also to care about what is the potentiality and about some risks also associated to a change in the trend. You will necessarily have a kind of transition period so that your model is really effective. And when you have all the knowledge, and you will have to keep in mind all the knowledge associated to the use of those technologies to really be very happy with that. Otherwise, you can be also feel sad or being disappointed by those kind of technologies, because it's not a question only of using it, it's a question also of understanding it.